Shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad, teaching his truth and sincerity. And I'm going to do a lesson on the scattering of the Israelites and how it pertains to who those Gentiles are in the New Testament. Because you got Christians still thinking that the Gentiles in the New Testament that are allotted for salvation are the other nations, right? And you got even Israelites that still believe that other nations can be saved, which is a lie. Now we know there's two definitions of Gentiles. One that is of another nation that's not an Israelite, but also Israelites that were scattered into these other nations, and they took on the custom of these nations, which made them Gentiles, right? So that's very important. So now first we're going to go to Isaiah 28 before we start, because there's a particular way that you have to go through these scriptures and go through this book and read it to get understanding. This is Isaiah 28:9. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Meaning you have to get the easier things that you can digest first before you go into the heavier, heavier breakdowns, the dark sayings, things that are more harder to understand, right? Those things that are hard to understand are meant to be taught by those that are full of age, right? So it says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, right? So that's what we do. We get precepts, we get scriptures from Jeremiah that link up with Isaiah, that link up with Matthew, that link up with Romans, right? It's all in unison, right? It all lines up together, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get some scriptures in the Old Testament, and then we're going to get some scriptures in the New Testament. It's all going to link together, right? And these Christians don't understand that. That's why they just go straight to the New Testament and don't understand what the Old Testament is even talking about, or how it pertains to the New Testament, right? So let's get Deuteronomy 28:64, because we know that the Israelites were put under a curse. If we're going to be under a curse if they didn't obey the law, statutes, and commandments. And one of the curses is being scattered. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even to the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even in wood and stone. Right? So when they were scattered into these different nations, they would worship their gods. Right? They will mingle amongst these different nations, and then they would keep the customs of these other nations. Let me read this one more time. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even to the other. And there thou shalt serve the other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right. So let's go to a precept right here in Psalms 106:35. It says, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. Right. So they mingle among themselves among the heathens, and then they learn their works. And they serve their God, they serve their idols, which were a snare unto them, right? Because those idols, hey, they're just wood or stones or clay, right? They don't have any power in them, right? They don't move. They don't have any spirit in them, right? So you're much better than an idol, but you have the Most High to worship, to praise, right? So it was a snare unto us, right? So we understand that we were mingled amongst those nations. We learned their works, and we became as the other nations, which would be Gentiles, right? So let's go to, let's go to the New Testament now. So let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, and let's go to 1 Corinthians 12:2. And this is Paul talking to the church of Corinth. It says, ye know that you were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. Let's read that again. Ye know that you were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even where you were led. So carried away, and that's something to be able to keep in mind, even as you were led. So we know that Gentiles naturally, they worship idols, right? They don't need to be led to worship idols because they naturally worship idols, right? Let's get Psalms 96:5. It says, for all the gods of the nation are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. So the gods of the nations are naturally idols. So they don't need to be led there. Who would need to be led there? The Israelites, right? Because they did naturally worship idols. They had a power that they worship, right? Yahweh. So now they're being led to worship idols because they fell away from worshiping the Most High God, Yahweh. Right. So let's get Jeremiah 28 or 29. Right, and this goes with that with the carried away thing. They were carried away. This is Jeremiah 29. Now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders which were carried away captive, unto the priests and to the prophets and to all the people who Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. Right, so this shows you that the Israelites were carried away captives. Right, so when we go into that New Testament, we see those Gentiles were carried away captives, and they were led to worship idols. We can see how this lines up with what happened to the Israelites and how they were carried away captive, and then they start worshiping other gods. Right. So now let me read that again. It says, he says, ye know that ye were Gentiles. Right. Because if you are naturally not an Israelite, which an Israelite is a bloodline thing, you can't be an Israelite and then be a Gentile, is what they would say. But you can be a Gentile in the mind, right? Doing the things of the Gentiles, right? But if you're another nation, you can't become an Israelite, right? By blood, right? Because there's no such thing as a spiritual Israelite. You're either an Israelite or you're not. But spiritually, if you're an Israelite and you worship other gods, you can be known as a Gentile, right? Going into those two different definitions of Gentile. You know, you were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even where you were led, right? So they were led to worship idols because they were Israelites who mingled amongst those heathens and worshiped their idols, right? Let's go to Ephesians also, because Ephesians says pretty much the same thing. In Ephesians 2:11, it says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision in the flesh, made by hands. That at that time you were without Mashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now in Mashiach ye were far off, are made nigh by the blood of Yahushua and Mashiach. Right? Why were they far off? Because they were led, or they were carried away captive into these far off nations. Right? And without Yahushua and Mashiach and his sacrifice, they wouldn't have the ability to worship the Most High, right? Because Yahushua is that mediator between the Israelites, and the Most High. Let's get Isaiah 43, right? Showing you that the Israelites were far off, right? But they will be gathered in those last days, man. They will be.
If you come across this video, please watch it till the end. Jesus will bless you.
God damn. It's like it. I guess I gotta go to it on here because my app is acting crazy. I think it was like 49. We're just gonna start at 1. KJV. All right, let's go. Where is it at? Bear with me, y'all. Let's see where it's at. I know it's Isaiah 43. All right, yep. This is Isaiah 43, and this is 5. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, I have made him. Right? So it says, bring my sons from far. Right? Because the Israelites are spread into these far off nations. So that's why when it says in Ephesians, where was that at? When the Ephesians in 13, when it says, but now in Hamashiach Yahushua, ye who were sometimes far off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach, is because these Israelites were spread into these far off nations, and the Lord is gathering them back. Simple and plain, right? The Lord is reconciling the Israelites back to the Father, which means to restore a friendly relationship, right? So this is what that scattering is about. Let's go to Romans, the 9th chapter, right? And this is going to be going into that Gentile thing also. And I'm gonna start at 23. This is Romans 9, and let's start at 23. It says, "And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had before prepared unto glory," right? "Even us whom he had called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles." So this is where the Christians will say, look, it's talking about Gentiles, it's talking about the other nations of people. But let's see what the next scripture say. It says, as he saith also in Hosea, which is Hosea, "I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God." Isaiah, which is Isaiah, also cried concerning Israel, "Though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved." Right. So this is Paul quoting Hosea and Isaiah. So now let's see if when it says, "I will call them my people, which are not my people," are talking about actual Gentiles, or are talking about the Israelites who were scattered into these different places. Let's go to Hosea. Let me see if I can use this.
And your family with
I can't use it, so I'm gonna go back up here. Hosea, let me go to 1, and I'm gonna start at around 6. Hosea 1 and 6. Let me just pull up the whole chapter, okay? Let's Hosea 1 and 6. "And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and God said unto him, Call her name Rehoboam, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and I will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bare a son, and said, God, call his name Lo-Ami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God." Right? So in Hosea, he had a wife of whoredoms, which was Gomer, and Gomer had children. And Lo-Ruhamah and Lo-Ami are Omen-Nomens, meaning that their names are going to be representations of what happened to the house of Israel. And the Lord said, what? Then said God, "Call his name Lo-Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God." So who is this talking about? It's talking about the Israelites. "Yet the number of the children of Israel should be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in that place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it should be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God." Right? So these Christians will try to say that the Israelites were done away with, and the Lord was not dealing with the Israelites no more. It's called replacement theology. But it says, in that same place where it said they were not my people, these same Israelites, they were scattered abroad, they were called not his people, they're going to be called the sons of the living God. "Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel." Right? So this is who those Gentiles are. This is why Paul quoted that in Romans the 9th chapter, because he understood what the Old Testament said. And that gathering would be the Israelites, who are not a people, or not the people of God, because they were acting like heathens. So the Lord left them alone. He let them go and be defiled with the heathens until he brought his son to reconcile them back to the Father. Right? So this is who these Gentiles are in the New Testament. They're the scattered Israelites that were prophesied to be in these different lands in the last days. So with that, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Until next time, Lord willingly, Shalom.